Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and in this video we have some exciting news. We're going to be talking about a new system put into the game for Midnight that's going to help new tanks, or new players in general, but new tanks, learn how to do the routes in Mythic Plus. Now, you might say, well, what's this all about? Like, why is this so exciting? Well, it's so exciting to me, even though I'm not personally usually a tank, because this is something that I've been calling for a while. And quite frankly, what I've said, and I haven't offered the perfect solution myself, and I don't know if this solution is going to be perfect or not, right? Or very good or very bad. But what I've been calling for, when people say there's a shortage of tanks, I think to myself, well, why is it that I personally don't like to tank, despite having the skill, despite having more knowledge than the typical new tank would have? Why do I not want to tank? And the biggest reason for me is not necessarily always knowing every single route. Now, of course, far enough into a season, I can kind of memorize the route as a DPS player, right? But as a tank, especially at the beginning of the season, it's usually expected that you know the route. And I don't like going on a third-party tool or whatever and trying to make a route and map it out. I know some people like that, but I don't. And I think as a new player, you're really not going to want to do that or know how to do that or even know that's available to do as a new player, right? Or as a new tank. And it becomes a huge barrier of entry. And I've tried to point this out many times over the past few years, probably at least since Dragonflight. I've been trying to point this out, that the number one thing that, in my opinion, that's stopping tanks from trying tanking is all the pressure and responsibility on them. Not only are they responsible for a lot mechanically, they're responsible for staying alive, of course, that's like their basic job. They're responsible for doing some amount of damage, right? And then they're also responsible for this route and the routing of the dungeon in almost all cases. Yeah, it's true that you could join a group as a tank and be like, hey, I don't have a great route here. Can you just mark where to go? And somebody might do that, but more than often than not, people are going to be very turned off by that. And so I think this is a very, very good idea. And we'll see if it can get to a better idea, but I really like this. So let's read through the blue post real quick and talk about what the idea is. In this week's beta build, we're introducing a new Mythic Plus affix designed to support players who are learning dungeon routing. Lindormi's guidance. Midnight Season 1 begins. The affix will be active in Mythic 2 to 5. So this is only for beginner keys. So it's very low stakes. People who are doing 2 to 5s, yes, there's toxic people everywhere, but this is learning keys. There's no expectation in these keys, at least by it's not from the top high-end players. High-end players, if they're in a 2 to 5, they're expecting it to go bad, trust me. So if there's anything in here, it's not from high-end players, if there's any toxicity in this particular, and there is, but, generally speaking, and maybe with this especially being a thing added, it'll be known that 2 to 5 keys are learner keys. And I think that's great that we have that. So while Lindormi's guidance is active, certain non-boss enemies will be affected with temporal sands, visually highlighting them and reducing their health and damage done by 5%. Defeating these marked enemies will fulfill 100% of the enemy forces count, providing a basic route through dungeons. Additionally, the affix also prevents player deaths from reducing the timer. So there's also less timer pressure in these on the 2 to 5 level. So that's really good too. So less timer pressure, and you have these mobs marked. So like basically, I'm not in the dungeon right now, but I could go in the dungeon. But you'd see this Yak marked, then you'd see the Stormrook marked, and it would have a buff on it, and you would know if I just follow these polls in the exact way they have them for me, that I will eventually get to 100% and I will be good. And this provides a basic route. This is exactly, it's providing exactly what needs to happen. They're providing a basic route. Additionally, to support the new affix, we'll also be shifting the starting point of Zaltec bargain affixes one level deeper from Mythic 4 to Mythic plus 5. We'd appreciate feedback with the new Lindormi's guidance supports players as they learn new Mythic Plus dungeons. So this is something that I should probably get on the beta and try to test myself, since this is something that I always wanted. And it just lets you learn the route. I've always said that there is way too much pressure on tank players, whether they're new or not. Even if you're not a new tank, maybe you're a tank and you do some stuff as a tank, but you don't do Mythic Plus because of the routing stuff, right? The reality is, if you pull way too much, you're going to get flamed. If you underpull, you're probably going to get flamed. If you do a really, really crappy route, you're going to get flamed, even if it ends up getting you there. The reality is, in these 2 to 5 keys, when you're in here and you do the route marked by Blizzard, people will just expect you to do that. If you have a fantastic route you came up with on your own on 2 to 5, so be it. But people are just going to expect you to do the basic route, and that is great. That's what we need, one basic route for people to do. And then let's say you're doing a +7 key, right? And you do the basic route, but there's a better route. Somebody might just say, hey, there's a better route, but they'll understand that you're doing the basic route, right? It'll be like, oh, he's doing the basic route. This might be his first +7 ever. It might be his first +8. He's doing the basic route. And then somebody might suggest to you, hey, there's a better route. You look it up if you want to. You know, that's what most people would say. There could be people that are more rude about it. But the idea is, yes, there is a basic route that becomes known throughout the community a certain amount into the season where everyone knows, okay, this is just the route for the Rookery. This is just the route for Arakara. And we all know this route, right? That becomes known through the season. But to have this basic route built into the game to where, yes, this is just a basic route that anybody can run. And it's just expected and known, right? It's because there's no known thing. If a tank is doing a basic route that is not as good as the optimal route, they're just going to assume they're idiots. But if they're doing the route that Blizzard gave them, they're just going to assume they're new, right? And there's a big difference between those things. Between, you know, doing what's expected of you and then the unknown, essentially. That's what I'm trying to articulate here and kind of failing to, is that this eliminates that unknown. Is my tank dumb? Is my tank bad? Or now, if the tank is just doing this route, okay, this tank is probably new or a learner or a beginner, whatever, right? And it kind of eliminates that unknown, and it'll cause a lot less. It will cause a lot less negativity. Will there still be negativity? Of course. There's negative people in every aspect of every game online, any online multiplayer game. So of course there's still going to be some negativity, but ultimately this is going to be a huge positive effect. I don't know if this is the best solution, like the absolute best way to do it, but it seems pretty good to me, honestly. It's basically marking a route for you, just with the debuff or the highlight of the enemies. I mean, it's basically marking the route for you. So I do think it's pretty much on par with the exact kind of thing that I would have talked about before. And I would be just remiss if I wasn't thanking Blizzard, if I wasn't highlighting how good this is for the game, when it's something that I've been calling for years, personally. So, you know, by all means, I would love to hear what other people think about this, but I see no downside to this whatsoever. This is only for low keys, so it's not affecting you. If you do weekly keys, if you're pushing keys, it's not going to affect you, except for it might get more tanks into the pool eventually, which will be a good thing. Yeah, they'll be doing a basic Blizzard route, but who cares, right? Like when they first start, by the time they get up to you, if you're pushing keys, hopefully they've, you know, they adapt to better routes, of course, right? That's what you do as you increase your skill. But this just, I find it impossible to find anything bad about this, and just such a W change for Blizzard to do here. And man, I love it. I honestly, Blizz just needs to listen to the things that I suggest and put them into the game, because it makes the game so much cooler and so much better. I know I have a cousin who plays as well, and he typically would play a tank. But with Mythic Plus, he's always been hesitant because he doesn't know exactly what he's doing. He doesn't know exactly where he's going. He also doesn't want to really make routes ahead of time and stuff. And this would be perfect for him. When I tell him this, he might actually, and he's been excited for Midnight anyways, he might be excited to try to tank a little bit at Midnight after I tell him this, to be completely honest. So I have one anecdotal example that I can almost guarantee it's going to be a W for, but I think it's going to be great for the player base in general. It'll be great for me too. If I want to try tanking at all, I'm going to go into those low keys first and follow the route and like be like, okay, and maybe as a little bit of a higher end player, maybe I'll improve upon it or something myself, right? But you know, and then eventually for me, again, as a little bit higher end player, I'll probably learn the better routes and do those. But you know, I like having a starting place. I like eliminating the unknown, and I like just having a basic conceptual thing that everybody in the game understands. Like, that's where I'm at on it, essentially. So like I said, let me know what you think about it. If you don't think it's a W, I'll be completely surprised. I'll be blown away if people have negative stuff to say about this, other than unless you're just negative about everything, I guess, because this is such a huge win. So but yeah, that'll be it for this one. As always, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribing to the channel is free. It helps me out phenomenally. If you're already a subscriber or you just want to, you can check out the Patreon in the link below. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.